So today we're out here hanging some tree stands. It's early season, it's August. We still got about a month until archery opener. And I figured this would be a good opportunity to walk you guys through how to choose the right tree to put a tree stand in. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna consider, of course, is where are the deer? Once you figure out where the deer are at in this area that you wanna hunt, you need to narrow down a little bit further and try to establish what are their patterns. And you can start that process by e-scouting with HuntStand and using the aerial imagery and trying to get an accurate prediction of where are they bedding, where are they feeding, and how are they traveling. You can get a lot of that guesswork done using the aerial imagery, but then mark up the map, try to think it through, and then it's all about coming in and ground pounding and figuring out real time, like what is going on in these woods, where are the trails, what are the movements actually looking like, and then taking it to another level, it's employing trail cameras. And so if you can get the trail cameras out and use that information to hone it in even further, you're gonna be sitting in a good spot. Using this spot where we're gonna hang this tree stand right now as an exact example, it's a pretty quintessential travel corridor. The deer bed in the swamp cover here to the north, and then there are primary food sources to the south, and even some to the east and west, but this is a big travel corridor right here. So when you walk in here off of the field edge, you're gonna see multiple trails going north and south in this case, and you'll see some cross trails going east and west, but the majority of the travel activity through here is north and south. So you have to ask yourself, what type of deer are you trying to hunt? If you're just trying to shoot does, or if you're happy shooting an immature buck or a younger buck, then as long as the wind is going to be in your favor, you can probably sit just about anywhere in this travel corridor off a main trail, and you're probably going to get a crack at a deer at some point if you play the wind. But as you come in from the field edge in a stretch of timber like this in this travel corridor, you're going to see those multiple trails. You're going to see one right on the field edge, almost always. You're going to see one that's just slightly in the interior of the wood edge where it meets the field. And then odds are you're going to see some trails that are back a little bit deeper, and in this case, where the wall of cover gets thicker. That is most likely going to be the trail that the mature bucks are going to be using. So if you're trying to kill a mature buck, you probably don't want to sit right on the field edge. You probably don't want to sit on one of the middle trails. You're going to want to sit on one of the trails that's a little bit further in, tucked against that tighter security cover, because that's why those bucks grew to be old. They're smart, they know how to survive, and they realize that if they stay in the interior, they're less likely to be seen, they're less likely to be targeted by predators like humans, and also it's easy for them to bounce into that security cover if they need to, if they don't feel comfortable. The other part about setting up on that edge is there's a lot of really nice browse in some of that younger vegetation. So the deer will spend time in there throughout the course of the day, even beyond their travels. Whereas more in this more open timber, in the mature hardwoods, right up against that field edge, they're probably not going to hang out there for a very long time. They're just going to be traveling through. So once you've established how the deer are moving, what the prevailing wind directions are going to be, and then what trail you want to target, that's when you can decide where the perfect tree is going to be for your setup. Now you're going to want a straight tree. Ideally you're going to want it to have some cover even when the leaves drop, so that you're not going to just be easily sighted by the deer or skylined. And of course, you want to try to be high enough so you're not in their direct line of sight. That leads me to my next point, and that is entrance and exit routes and utilizing the wind to your advantage and making sure that those deer never detect you. So when you look at the prevailing wind, you're going to want to make sure that tree stand is going to go in a tree where your scent is never going to be blowing where you think those deer are going to be traveling, or where they're bedding, anywhere where the scent might impact them. You want to make sure that the prevailing wind is going to be scooting off to the side of their travel routes or where they're hanging out, because you don't ever want them to smell you. That goes for when you're coming in to your stand, and when you're leaving, and when you're hunting it. So while you're doing all those things, make sure you use the Hunt Zone wind map feature in HuntStand to always keep track of where that wind is blowing as you're coming in, as you're hunting, and as you're leaving. The last thing I will say about choosing the right tree for your tree stand is do it safely, hang the stand safely, climb into the stand safely, and to do that you're going to need a harness and you're going to need a lifeline so that you stay connected from the bottom all the way up to the top. You're never disconnecting from that line as you're climbing up and down out of that tree stand, because the majority of injuries when you're hunting from a tree stand happen when you're coming up or coming down. It's not people falling out of their stands most of the time. It's when they're coming up or coming down climbing. So do it safely, do it smart. find the right tree, do your homework, and you're probably gonna kill some deer.